Well, hello once again, fellow Star Trek fans. Happy New Year to you. I got a great video lined up today. We're going to geek out. We're going to go over the Standard Issue Communicator from Starfleet Command. If you ever wondered what made a communicator work, the parts, its range, the inner workings, well, I'm going to show you guys today. So this is going to be a really, really fun video. We're going to use, for reference, we're going to be using the Starfleet Technical Manual, and we're going to be using the Illustrated Handbook of the Enterprise and the Enterprise A. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on a tripod so it'll be easier to show you everything, and we're going to get started. Alright, so we'll be using a couple of references. These are good books, by the way. They got a lot of information in them. And what I'll be using for props is the communicator from the WAN company. And you can see in the plaque, this is the U.S.S. Enterprise Standard Issue Communicator. Now, I don't know why with mine, but there's a little bit of pitting in the metal part that holds the communicator. At first I thought it was something on it that I could just wipe off, but it's actually pitted in the metal. So that kind of sucks, but I got to deal with it. But this is the communicator from the WAN company. You can see it charges, and it's like a magnetic field that holds it on while it charges. Now, I've already done videos on these. This isn't about the WAN company communicator, guys. This is going to be about the Standard Issue Starfleet communicator itself. So with the WAN company one, in order to push it on, you push the button on the left, hold it down for a second, and it's on. Connected. And it also is connected to my phone, the Bluetooth, and that's where you can see the blue light lighting up. You can see the spinning circle in the middle that shows what frequency it's on. So let's take a look at all the inner workings of the Standard Issue Starfleet communicator. We can start out by looking at some of the components or the parts. So actually, let's take a look. So the Starfleet Technical Order, the communicator. We got the standard field equipment item, which is the communicator, and you can see some of the pieces on it. Specifications, the LOL, 113.5 millimeter, weight 200 grams, WOA 63.5 millimeter, HOA 28 millimeter, and the range is 12,000 kilometers. You can see some of the components. So the bottom is removable for the power supply. And you can see, we go into the inner components. You can see the vent. You can see the red light, the yellow light, and there's a blue light. And the blue light is all the way to the right, and the yellow light is all the way to the left. So let's take a look at the lights. I don't know if you guys will be able to see. You can see the red light lighting up and the blue light lighting up. I'm not sure how to make the yellow one. I don't remember. But this is, like I said, this isn't about the WAN company communicator. This is about showing you the Starfleet communicator. So you can see we got the channel switch. And that would be the button that's on the right-hand side. So if you want to change the frequency or the channel, that would be this button. And the WAN company has this set up where on each different channel, you can actually hear a crew member's voice. I think if you put it up, it's Mr. Spock.
Enterprise, Spock here.
To the left is Mr. Scott.
Scotty here, Captain.
To the right, I think, is Dr. McCoy.
McCoy here.
If you go push it to the bottom, it's Mr. Sulu.
Yes, Captain.
And if you hold the button down, it's Lieutenant Uhura. All right, so what I had to do was, because I have my phone hooked up via Bluetooth, every time I would play with the function button, my camera would stop, so I had to disconnect it. So let's try that again. When you hold it down.
Waiting for Bluetooth connection.
Oh.
Enterprise bridge, Lieutenant Uhura.
When you hold it down, it's Lieutenant Uhura.
Enterprise bridge, Lieutenant Uhura.
So we got all the crew members on the right-hand button, and again, that's to switch the channels. Now, the indicator to tell which frequency you're on is actually the circle with the moving parts inside. All right, so what else we got? We got the tuned Ferret loop, and the tuned Ferret loop would be this. And it looks like that's what goes all the way around. Actually, it just goes up here. The tuned Ferret loop. And we have, let's see, the vent, transmit, receive switch. So the button all the way to the right is between frequencies. That's how you switch the channel. And the button on the left is whether you receive or transmit. And I don't have the instructions offhand. I don't remember what that does on the WAN company, but that's what the buttons are. So if you want to switch in between channels, use the right button. And if you want to differentiate between communicating and transmitting, or receiving, you would hit the left button. And of course, this part also serves as the antenna. So we're looking at the side version. You can see where, according to Starfleet, the energy compartment, the energy unit or the battery, is actually in the side, in the bottom. Looking at it from the side view, it would be right in the front part. The speaker and microphone are located in the frequency indicator. And of course, this is the antenna, and this is shown open. Looking at the bottom, you can see where there would actually be an on and off switch on the Starfleet Issue Communicator. And that's not the deal with this one, because it will be right up here, and there's no communicator on and off button. So you guys might be wondering, oh, it also has the magnetomic adhesion surface. So that's probably a way that they keep it onto the belt. As you can see, when they take it off the belt, I'm sure they have like Velcro that keeps it on, but you never actually really see it. But it does stick to the utility belt. So that's what that part on the back is, right over here. So let's take a look at the inner workings. This is going to be pretty cool. Looking at the inner workings of the Star Trek communicator, you guys can see the schematic right there. Isn't that cool? The Circuitry Diagram, Type 1. And you can see the antenna, the on-off switch, switch 1, normal receive, press to transmit, T7 to contact, the SW2 is the rotary 7 contact, RF switch. You got the speaker mic, speaker microphone, type 32-0214, 8 ohms at 0.1 watts. You can kind of see the channels. So that's pretty cool. And think about it, the technology, because basically, I mean, well, an iPhone, isn't that pretty close to a communicator now? You can see the different channels. Omni at 27.125 megahertz. Channel A is at 49.91 megahertz. B, 49.93. C, 49.95. D, 49.97. E, 49.99. And F is not available. You can see some of the values. The channel values, the Omni, the capacitors. It's so cool, huh, guys? You get the values on the other side for the resistors. So they got the capacitors on the left and the resistors on the right, and you've got the schematic. And that's basically everything that the Starfleet manual has on the communicator. So let's take a look at what the newer book, or the new manual has. And this is the Enterprise and Enterprise A History. This one doesn't have as much technical stuff, but this one does have more like written information about the unit itself. You can see the pattern on the disc indicates the communicator's operating frequency. And I'm going to go ahead and put my communicator up, and I'm going to label everything so you guys can see everything a little more clearly. A row of 3 lights indicated the communicator status. And the one all the way to the right actually should be blue. And red is the emergency, and you've got the yellow all the way to the left. The personal communicator was a powerful but compact device which was principally used by landing parties. It would transmit signals between members of the landing party or to a ship in orbit. As with all such Starfleet equipment, its simple, functional design made it very easy to operate. You can see this button, or the button on the left. The control on the left was used to operate the communicator's transmission and reception functions. The control on the right was used to select the communication channel. And of course, this is the pattern on the disc indicated the communicator's operating frequency. And the top part, or the metal part, is the antenna. Also serves to protect the controls. The antenna was a thin golden lattice that pivoted on a hinge, powerful enough to connect transmission to the ship in orbit. When not in use, the antenna would flip closed to protect the communicator's controls. So, you want it to be safe, you close the antenna. Very practical. And it gives a little bit of information on the communicator itself. It's a vital tool. The communicator was standard issue to all members of a landing party and could be attached to the waistband of a Starfleet officer's trousers or a belt. Communicators emitted a trace signal, identifying the whereabouts of a crew member at all times. And they also were capable of transmitting an emergency signal that ship's personnel would interpret as a request for emergency. That's the red button. Red button for emergency B mount. This could be activated very easily and did not require the user to speak. The devices were vital for establishing coordinates for a transporter beam, but due to the smaller size, they could be easily confiscated or stolen. Such incidents occurred often, sometimes innocently and sometimes to impede the movements of a landing party. For example, the ancient children in a world only known as Mary's Planet stole the communicators because the children were fascinated by the voices coming out of them. You guys remember Mary was that girl with the, of all the children, all the adults had died from the virus, and they actually didn't want the landing party communicating with the ship, and they had stolen the communicators. On another occasion, Bella Oxmans of Sigma Lodia II stole communicators because he didn't want Captain Kirk and his landing party contacting the orbiting U.S.S. Enterprise. And that was cool when he did. When the boys came, the Enterprise was able to stun the whole block, and they had all fallen, asserting the dominance of the Enterprise in the Federation. Perhaps the most unusual use of a communicator occurred when Kirk used one to speak with Spock's brain, which had been stolen and taken to the Sigma Draconis system and installed as a controller of the 6 planets central computer system. That one was really cool. That was Spock's brain. That was a really, really cool episode. A little more, a couple of examples that they use for the diversity of the communicator. Although designed to facilitate communication with an orbiting vessel or other members of a landing party, the communicator was a highly adaptable tool. In the right hands, it could be used to communicate directly with certain types of machines, or even reconfigure to serve as a limited sonic weapon. You guys remember in Friday's Child, when they had gone into the mountains with the wife of the Tsar? They had... the one that McCoy was taking care of, they were being followed by the army, and they used the communicator to disrupt and send signals that sent kind of an avalanche down on them. The design and the use of the communicator. The communicator's antenna was a gold-colored lattice that was attached to the upper body shell by a single hinge. The antenna was deployed activating the communicator via a flick action, which the communicator would chirp a ready signal. The open antenna revealed the communicator's controls in a recessed area set into the surface of the device. A rotating circular display indicated the device's current operating frequency, below which 3 lights there's a status shown when the communicator was active, transmitting, or receiving a signal. A speaker/microphone grill sat behind the 2 final switches, one of which controlled transmission and reception, while the other was used to select a preferred communication channel. A built-in translator unit was the most important component of the communicator, as it enabled landing party personnel to converse with alien races whose languages were also stored in the Universal Translator's matrix. And that's good to know, guys, because sometimes we lose fact of that when you're talking to someone else, like another race, like whether it's the Romulans or the Klingons or anything that's in a Universal Translator. They can speak into this and it will translate into that language. The personal communicator of 2260s was a small oblong device designed to fit conveniently in the palm of one hand. It was constructed in 3 parts, an upper and lower body shell, and an antenna lattice that doubled as a protective cover for the device's controls when not in use. Communicators were sturdy enough to survive being thrown or dropped, but did not respond well to extreme cold. The range of the standard Starfleet communicator of this era was limited, allowing for communication between the planet's surface and a ship, between users aboard the same ship or in a landing party, or between nearby ships. You can see the illustration in this book of the communicator. The other book, the Starfleet Manual, was a little more technical than this one is. But this is the personal communicator. The handheld personal communicator of the late 2260s was a lifeline for landing party personnel, not only used to send and receive voice transmissions, but also to pinpoint their exact location. And again, this is a little less technical than the Starfleet Manual, but it does have a lot of information on it. And that's just scratching the surface of what's in these great books, my friend. This one is a little more technical. I like that. The inner workings and the schematics, that's really cool. So, my friends, I hope this taught you a little bit more about the Standard Issue Communicator. Let's hear from the some of the crew.
Enterprise. Spock here.
Sorry guys, I did it again. When I try to get Lieutenant Uhura, holding this button down actually has it connect to the Bluetooth on my phone. So let's go to the other button. It's the on and the off button. Incidentally, this square right here, it's labeled the vent in the technical manual, but we couldn't tell because the cover was closed. Now, they could be talking about the holes in the cover, but I don't think they were speaking about that. I think they're actually talking about this, because this has no other function and there's no other description in that area. So if you guys are wondering what this was, this is actually the vent for the inner workings of the communicator. So my friends, this was the Starfleet Issue Communicator. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And the next one we're going to do is we're going to be looking at the Type 1 and the Type 2 hand phaser. And that's going to be a really fun video as well. And again, we're going to be using the wand company as illustrative purposes or demonstrative purposes only. So this was the communicator. And it's getting a little low. I think it's because I had the music playing on it earlier, so the battery needs to be recharged. Well, my friends, I'll see you guys really soon, and we'll go over the Type 1 and the Type 2 hand phaser. Talk to you soon.